Islam is the last and the youngest of the five major world religions we cover in our survey course. This first slide shows some of the themes, perceptions, and misconceptions of Islam that I will address. You may have heard it said that Islam means peace. Not exactly, but the term Islam is related to another word that does mean peace. In the upper right corner, you see one of the older and classic PBS documentaries about Islam. Historically, the term Empire of Faith does definitely fit the role this tradition has played. But for most Westerners, Islam has always been the exotic other, and more recently, very threatening. We will have to say something about Osama bin Laden. Although he is dead, bin Laden can be seen as a symbol that we must understand. Here's a question for you bright young things. What part of the world has the largest Islamic population? Many students have cited countries in the Middle East, or Africa, or Europe, or Australia, or America, or Russia, etc., etc. I would say good answer to every guess. Sometimes a student would say Asia, and I would say close. Sometimes a student would know and say Southeast Asia, or actually know the answer to be Indonesia. This is surprising to most. There are numerous countries that are Islamic states, such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, or Iraq. Islam did begin in the Arabian Peninsula, but in the next few centuries it would expand to many parts of the world. When many people think of Islam, it is understandable to think of the Middle East, because many of the news events concerning Islam occur in Middle Eastern Islamic countries. Look at that woman with her face covered, and the three women gravitating to one guy. Obvious, we must speak about Muslim women and the perceptions within and outside of Islam. Going across the bottom of the slide is Louis Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam. This movement is not normative Islam, and we will speak about it. Then we see what looks like men dancing. Some of you might remember the first day in class. When you walked in, I had a Globe Trekker documentary playing. I proceeded to give you one of the fun in-class quizzes you're not graded for. I went to part of the documentary where whirling dervishes would dance in a circular motion. This dance is a part of Islamic mysticism, or called Sufism. I will discuss this. Continuing is the Oxus Mundi, the world center for the very geographically dispersed Islamic tradition. This is the Grand Mosque in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Every year, millions of Muslims come here as part of the Hajj, the great pilgrimage. You then see the term Mohammedanism. This is what many used to call Islam, assuming that Muhammad was like Jesus for Christians. But no, Islam is the name of the religion. Muslims are members of this tradition, and Muhammad is only a great prophet. Speaking of Muhammad, notice the picture of a black cube and a man sitting next to it. That's the Kaaba. And the artist probably ran out of paint or wasn't good with faces. Just kidding. Like Jesus, no one knows the appearance of Muhammad, but for Islam, representations of the prophet are not allowed. A major reason given is to discourage any worship of the prophet. Lastly, in the center of the slide, you will see two terms, theocracy and corruption. As Islam was developing and spreading, what developed was a very comprehensive religious system. Islam has perceived itself to be a religion and worldview that is supposed to encompass politics, economics, and basically every facet of life. Hence, for countries that became Islamic, the ideal was generally theocracy, government by divine mandate. Finally, Islam worships the same God as Judaism and Christianity. But being the youngest of the monotheistic traditions, Islam was perceived as a corruption of the Judeo-Christian tradition. But Islam perceives itself to be a correction to both Judaism and Christianity.